Boston on Mad Dog Unleashed. Nick, your turn. How are you today, buddy? What do you have?
I'm doing great. So I've been listening for the past hour or so. So I heard some things. I think that Tomlin's a good coach. I agree with some of the callers that called him previously saying that he hasn't progressed.
I think that was a good point. I think that was a good point. He's basically the same coach he was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I think that's an excellent point.
Right. So I think that we give him a little too much credit because he did inherit the defense and team that was built up. What was it? A year, 2 years after Cowher had just won the Super Bowl in 07, 06, 07 when Tomlin became coach.
Cowher, yes, 100 right. Cowher was there. I think one more year after they won the Super Bowl in 2000. I think he won the Super Bowl in 2006, and then Tomlin came in 2008. But go ahead, I'll look that up.
All right. So there's the inheritance portion, and then someone else. I'm a Patriots fan, and of course, time management to me, I'm spoiled with Bill Belichick, where even in the Vikings game, so the Saints-Vikings game, when the Saints had the ball, the Vikings had the ball, I believe with 2 minutes and some change left, and they ended up kicking the field goal, but they threw the ball twice.
Yeah, we discussed
this. I'm thinking to myself.
Yeah, bad clock management. Bad, very bad.
Yeah, so bad clock management. Likewise with Big Ben, you could have used Big Ben to fall forward on some of those fourth downs on quarterback sneaks. He's a big boy. Just utilize him like Brady does. That's one thing. That's Brady's specialty. They know it's coming and they can't stop it. So having them line up and trying to run it, and there's another thing. We're forgetting Shazier got injured. That was ever since Shazier went down, even during that Baltimore game where he went down, Pittsburgh's defense is not the same defense.
Well, he went down before the Baltimore game. He went down in the Cincinnati game December 4th, and then the Baltimore game was this following Sunday night. But yeah, I mean, I think that Shazier, that's a huge blow. Don't get me wrong, but again, Tomlin, I'm not so much breaking down the specific unit left and right. The big picture, the Steelers have underachieved a lot, and so is Haurbaugh. Be honest, that team collapsed at the end of the year. Terrible job by Baltimore. They shouldn't have lost to Cincinnati. They were lucky to beat the Colts on December 23rd. They should have lost that game, for crying out loud. They stunk late in the year. They were very lucky to beat the Colts. Colts blocked the punt late in the game, for crying out loud. The Colts. They underachieved. Nothing else to say. And they've underachieved 3 years in a row. I mean, again, nothing's going to happen to these two. Haurbaugh, everybody thinks Haurbaugh coaches well against Belichick. He's obviously beaten him a couple times, so that carries a lot of weight, and he's won a Super Bowl. So he beat Belichick twice, and he won a Super Bowl. That goes a long way. If you can coach forever if you've done those two things, but if you look at it and you look at it properly, and you look at the Ravens in the last 3-4 years, they have underachieved. There's no other way around it. And this year is a complete disaster. It's a gag job, and he's got to take responsibility for that. And the same thing goes for Tom. And then Haurbaugh barked and screamed and yelled on something he knew nothing about with the TV thing in Week 17. Well, you know what? Why are you playing at 4:30 on New Year's Eve? Because the Chargers are playing at 1 o'clock on the West Coast. That's why, you idiot. Have a clue. Jeez. And Tomlin, who is fighting for the same playoff spot you're fighting for. And Tomlin is underachieved. There's no way around it. Now, these coaches have done enough where they're going to survive it. And, as Scott from Tampa said, you have no idea on these assistants. Nobody knows if Matt Nagy is going to be a good coach. So, from that, or Shermer, for that matter, or Patricia, or McDaniels. It's Greg in Chicago, Mad Dog Unleashed. Greg, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
Doggy, I got a tennis prediction for you, but first, let me tell you my story. I heard your bucket list. Started 2015. I quit my job in New York, went down to Melbourne for 2 weeks.
Did you really? Wow, good for you. All right.
One of the most beautiful, fascinating cities I've ever been to, and one of the best organized sporting events you'll go to. You will have a great time.
So you went to you quit your job in 2015, and you flew to Melbourne, Australia. You obviously had the money to be able to pull it off. You went to Melbourne, Australia, and you stayed there for 2 weeks to see the event.
Correct. I stayed for the whole event. It was phenomenal.
I mean, did you go every day?
Most days, probably went 7-8 times, including the semifinals and the final. So it was pretty memorable.
Well,
And,
all right, what's the next bucket list item?
Yeah.
Let me hear.
I like football as much as the next guy, and you don't have to worry. You're not going to miss any of it down there. They are into it. I want you to picture this. Sunday evening, Djokovic-Murray final, 10 rows from the court. Go home, go to sleep, wake up Monday morning, 10 a.m. with the time difference, sitting on the river, big screen, Super Bowl viewing party, 75 degrees inside.
Wow, yeah, I do know that they all watch it. That's a good one, and they do love the American football there. I'm aware of that. That's pretty good. Remember, the finals at Sunday morning at 4 a.m. The football game is 14 hours later. So you can watch the final, you go home and take a bed, and it's a 16-hour time difference. The game starts at 6 o'clock. That's 10 o'clock the next day in Melbourne, Australia. Not a bad life if you can get it. It's a long way away, but it's not a bad life if you can get it. I've been on that flight, L.A. to Sydney. 16 hours, Air New Zealand, 1980. It's a long way. And I talked to PMAC, by the way. I texted him. He left. I'll give you the information. I don't want to do it on my phone. But he left Thursday. He went New York, L.A. He had a 2.5-hour layover. Left at, I think he left at 5:30 New York time. Then he had a 10:30 connect on Virgin. I think, no, it's Delta. Virgin to L.A., then a connect on Delta nonstop L.A., Melbourne. And that never was, you used to go United, they had to go to Sydney. So I went L.A. to Melbourne, business, slept, got there Saturday morning, ran, showered, production meetings, let's play tennis. Not a bad life. That's fun. From 2 degrees to 80 degrees. Nice. That's nice. How about if we go to Melbourne, Australia once, folks, and I'll give you a little sports talk live. We'll find I won't bring Eddie, but I'll find a studio somewhere and we can do sports talk. What time would it be on? 3 to 6, 3 to 7. That is 7 a.m. in the morning. So we would do sports talk 7 to 10 local time to be back in New York at 3 the next day. Because 3 o'clock right now in Australia, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow. On Wednesday, right now. So you do the sports talk. It'd be Tuesday afternoon in New York, and you'd be doing a sports talk Wednesday morning in Australia. That'd be fun. You should do that once. Do a two-week excursion. I'll bring the missus, and away we go. Here's John in Indianapolis. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Johnny, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Chris, for both your knowledge and your passion.
All right, Johnny. Thank you.
I'm calling because I'm wondering if there's a good book, a book worth reading, about the 1978 Yankees team that came back from being behind Boston with Lemon and the Gator and that great home run in the playoff game by Bucky Dan.
Yeah. Let me think about that. That's a tremendous pennant race. Roger and Yale probably wrote something great about that back then. I didn't read The Bronx Zoo. If I did, I don't remember it, with Sparky, which was obviously a lot about that too. There's
nothing like Boys of Summer for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. There really isn't. I don't think there has been one of those unbelievable, 350-page Bill Madden, Bill Pennington, Moss Klein kind of books, which talks about that season. You need Verducci to write that.
That'd be an incredible book. I bet it'd be a bestseller. That was such an incredible season. So exciting.
It was a great year. Red Sox were 63-26, and somehow they blew the pennant after they were down 3.5. And a lot of those players are still alive. Yaz is alive. Yes, Fisk is alive. A lot of the Rice is alive. Bill Lee is alive. The managers are not with us. No Zimmer, and obviously no Bob Lemon. So the managers aren't with us. But that's a good book. I'd read that. Mike in Atlanta, Mad Dog Unleashed. Mike, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, how are you? Hey, I love your show.
Good job, Mike. What's up now? Let me hear.
Yeah, listen. So I was listening to your callers talk about and the topic of the Major League Baseball and the uncompetitiveness of it. But ironically enough, I think the NBA's got it worse, doesn't it?
Yes, NBA's much worse. Much worse. Much worse.
I'll tell you something. I was looking online today at the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, so they're in the basement, right? ESPN's website will tell you the cheapest tickets you can find, via the via the NBA's, approved ticket broker, right? So most of the Hawks tickets are dirt cheap. They're going for $12 for most of the games, except for the upcoming game with the Warriors, where the cheapest ticket price is $90 to get that one.
Wow.
You know?
Well, you can't blame them. You can't blame them. That's one of the big opponents that come to town. They only come once a year. It's a chance for the ownership and a group to make a little money. You can't blame them. I mean, that's a huge game. I know your point is, if I go sit there and I watch the Sacramento Kings for $12 and I'm loyal about it, shouldn't I get a break with the Warrior game? I understand that this pricing, which a lot of teams do on these tiers, bothers a lot of fans. But can you blame Atlanta for charging more for the Golden State game?
Well, now bear in mind, this is via one of those sites where your ticket holders give their tickets back, and they're trying to get money back for their seats, right? But it just tells you about supply and demand and how, everybody wants to come and see the Warriors. They don't want to see the Hawks. They want to see Steph Curry. They want to see Klay Thompson. My 8-year-old kid could name more than he can on the Hawks,
Well,
and I'll tell you, the league's got a real funny problem here with the thing driven by superstars,
Well, that's the way the NBA has always worked. The NBA in a lot of cities has always been about the opponent more so than the own team. That's just it. But the NBA right now, I was thinking about this last night. Golden State last year lost one playoff game. And they lost the game up 3-0, the Cleveland Finals. They literally played maybe 3 or 4 games that had competitive value to it in the whole postseason. They had that one game against San Antonio when Leonard got hurt, a couple of games against Cleveland, and maybe there was one other game in an earlier round, which I forget about. I mean, Cleveland buried everybody in the Eastern Conference. It is a little rough. It's a top-heavy league. It's a major problem for the sport. They have the same issues. They have a lot of the same issues baseball has. The advantage that baseball has is that the postseason is unpredictable. The NBA postseason is predictable. There's never an upset. Baseball, there's upsets. 7 in front of the hour, Mad Dog Unleashed.